So I'm trying to envision the future of all those roots. And yeah, it's very difficult decisions to make. If I were to remove that thick one on this side, the tree might look a little unbalanced. Maybe not. It's definitely getting thick, that root. It's going to be a problem. The roots do tighten up. Right now it's spaced away from the trunk, but as the trunk grows, the root will eventually form into the trunk. It'll kind of merge, fuse into it. I think my problem with it is that it starts here and it doesn't come straight down. It kind of goes off on an angle a bit. Maybe if I could fix it to be more vertical, I'd be a little happier with it. I don't know. This one's not bad. It kind of comes almost vertical. Let me try and fix that root. That'll be my first starting point, you know, to aesthetically fix the root base at the front here, is to get this root and try and straighten it out, to reposition it. Sort of like that. Now, let's see if I can move this root at all. It'll either break or come out, one of the two. It's coming. There it goes. So there's that root. It is out. Now, there's two aerial roots coming off of it here that I've also got to separate. Try and pull them out. I got one end of that one out. That one's out. This one. That one just broke off. Anyway, what can you do? A lot of these aerial roots, even though it's broken off like that, it could, in humid conditions, it could grow new roots coming off of it. So don't prune them off. Just leave them on there. So I'm going to try repositioning this root and see if I like it any better growing straight down. So that would be more like over here. Let's see what that looks like. It does look a lot better straight, rather than being off to that side. I think that's what was bothering me. It's not directly straight on in the front view either, which is good. It's off to the right hand side a bit. So I think instead of pruning that off, I'll try and reposition it as close to the trunk as I can, and it'll eventually fuse in with the trunk and kind of create a fluted buttressing type root. I will have to find a position for that root. I think I can tuck it in. If I do a little pruning underneath here, I can remove a root here on the bottom, and that should make it a little easier to tuck it in here, like that. And I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that root now. It's kind of going along the trunk, which looks good. Okay, so the next root I want to address is this one over here. I had a look from the front, and because I moved this root over, it exposes these buttressing roots on the right hand side more, and the root over here kind of balances that root mass on the other side, on the left hand side. So I think it looks quite good. I think all I have to do with this root is, you know, do a bit of root pruning, and that'll be about it. I think it looks fairly balanced now. There's a thick root here that was cut off, and it's got a lot of new roots that formed around the cut point. So it divides from one root into a few multiple roots, which looks really good. There's another one here that was cut off. It's dividing into multiple roots, which looks quite good also. Can maybe sort them out a little bit. So it's possible I could reduce this one. It's quite thick. It's, you know, as they get further and further from the trunk, I want the roots to get finer and finer. This one's pretty thick out here, so I'm thinking maybe cutting that one back a bit. like that. Take a slice off it. So that reduces the vigor of that root quite a bit. There's a long root here that has quite a length without any division, so I'll prune that back. Hopefully that'll sprout some new roots at the end and keep growing. There's a root here that's quite thick. I think I should prune that curved portion of it off. That was that one I didn't like. I'm going to prune it right back to here. Like that. That'll be much better. This one also, it comes out and it doesn't have much, ramification. It just straight for quite a while. So I'll prune it back. Like that. And hopefully we'll get some more roots growing out of there. To make a root-based miniature, you've got to have, as I said, thick roots near the base of the trunk, and then they got to get finer and finer towards the edge of the pot, and more ramification. And that's what'll make your root base look very miniature. A few tangled roots on this side I'm just sorting out. There's another root here, kind of quite long without any ramification, so I'll prune that one off. Shorter, like that. Looking from the front, this thick root is still bothering me. It's quite far from the base of the tree and it's very thick out here. So I've got to do something about that. I'll probably have to remove it totally. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to have to... I can keep the root that's growing on top there. I might have to come in with my branch pruners. I don't like using them on roots, but I don't think I have many other options. I'm going to come in and just cut it off. Like that. Okay, so that part of it's removed. I'm going to do a little raking in there. There's lots of roots underneath it that are finer. I think if I can remove that even further, I think I've got to take even that top part off. So I'll keep this root here. It's all right. But yeah, remove all this. There we go. On the right side of the root base here, I have a root that comes down and gets kind of redirected underneath these other roots. And I got a couple of roots that are crossing each other here. And it looks very natural now at this size. But as they thicken up, I think that'll look not so good. So I'm going to try and sort out these roots. I'm going to try and pull this one out. I'm going to take some pulling. It's coming. There we go. That one's out. A little damaged, but it's out. I broke off at the top there. But we'll sort it out. It may recover. Sometimes when you break these roots, they fix themselves. Like here, I've damaged it, but that'll heal itself, no problems. So there's still this one that kind of tucks under here. There, I got it out. Okay, so those roots can all be arranged nice and radial. And I think in the future, I'll be very happy I did that, rather than have this massive crisscrossing roots that just won't look good in future. You always have to think towards the future on these ficuses because everything thickens up. The root base never stays the same on them. Quite a bit of tangulation in here, if that's a word. So we'll get that sorted out. I've got a few on the left-hand side here too that I need to do a bit of sorting out of. Again, I don't want them to become problems in the future. I don't like roots that do this, where they start off and then they cross each other like your fingers crossed. It has always bothered me to see roots like that. So there's that curly root. I'm trying to get that sorted out. Over here, kind of loops around and does weird things. Try and get it out if I can. It really goes into the root base, so I it may just break off. Oh, I got it out. There it is. Good. So I can sort all those roots out now. They're all independent. I can put them in a more natural position. I think the tree and the roots are getting close to being done. I've sorted out probably 80% of the problems right now. There's still some I'm going to have to go in and do a bit of raking and sort them out. But it's getting closer. I've sorted out a lot of root problems with this tree. I've tried to envision the tree 2 years in the future when I'll repot it next. And I think I probably, as I said, sorted out probably 80 to 90% of the problems with the roots. So now it's time to repot it. So I'll clean the pot up and we'll get the tree in the pot. I'm going to plant the tree in the same pot. I bought a pair of these pots brand new. These were the first bonsai pots that I ever bought new. They were on sale for half price. They're a good Japanese pot. And they're probably 25 years old now, so they're getting quite old. Getting a bit of patina on them. So I've chose this as the front of the pot. The glaze looks the nicest from this view. The back is, the glaze kind of comes up on an angle a bit. So yeah, this is the front of the pot. So I've got to plant the tree. This is as low as I can get it in the pot. It's right wood on pot down there. So I'm going to put a small layer of soil in the pot just to level the tree out. It sort of naturally sits on a bit of an angle, so I want to get it nice and vertical. So I'll put a fine layer of soil in the bottom of the pot, and then we'll position the tree. All right, I'll add a shallow layer of soil to the bottom of the pot. So I know the tree's going to be offset a bit like that. So I know I need to put a bit more soil on this side to kind of level the tree out. Let's see how that looks. I think a little over more. No. I think I could go in the center of the pot a little more. So just shifting it over a tad more, maybe to there. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good position. It looks just offset from the center of the pot. So the center of the pot would probably be here, and the tree's just slightly offset. The tree is positioned now. So now I've got to rake out all these roots to get them going down into the soil line nicely. I don't want them sticking up too high. They're not too bad. I've got to make sure the tree's straight looking at it from the side view too. So that looks pretty good. Yeah, I could maybe... I'm getting a lot of layers of roots here. There's a few I could take off just to clean it up a bit so it's not layers and layers of matted roots on top of each other. I mean, it's kind of a cool effect, but it gets to the point where you're going to have one really thick matted root base here. Roots of the back, I could trim them off a little bit shorter. They're a little close to the edge of the pot. These ones, a few here I could prune a little shorter. They're also getting close to the edge of the pot. That looks better. This aerial root here, I'm going to position it the best I can so it hangs down vertical. I'll start to fill in the soil now. Lots of room for the roots to grow in this new soil. They'll like that. Now, last time I used some stones to hold the roots down into the soil if they were kind of springing up a bit. I don't think it'll be much of a problem this time, but we'll keep that technique in mind. So keep this one down in the soil here. Don't want it springing up. This root here is springing up. I'll have to fix that with the stone, I think. And I'll start working this soil into the roots. I may be able to tuck it in under another root here. Yeah, that seems to work okay. I'm standing back just doing a final check of the tree. Checking position in the pot, making sure the tree's vertical in both directions from the front and the side view. So I'm going to look at the side view now. It looks good in the side view. And the front view, I'm just checking the position in the pot. I like it. It looks good, especially with these roots on this side. It kind of transitions that flat spot. The roots are sharper on the left-hand side, and the right-hand side they kind of flow more. So it makes sense the tree is over to this side in the pot, and that kind of justifies that and kind of balances the composition nicely. I think that looks really good. Yeah, I'm really happy with the progress. I don't like that aerial root. I can see from this view it's still on an angle, so I'm going to adjust that. That's as close as I can get it to vertical, and I think that looks quite acceptable. Yeah. So I'll continue working the soil into the roots, and yeah, this is exciting. I may have to pile the soil up a little higher than it will finally be, just to make sure all these roots are making contact with the soil. I can always rake the surface soil off later on as the roots get established. The tree's getting quite firm in the pot now as I work the soil into the roots. The tree's nice and firm in the pot now. Doesn't want to move at all. Okay, I think the basic planting is done. I do have to make sure all these roots are going into the soil, so I'll have to get out some stones for that. But first, I'm going to give it a watering. I'll start the watering with a bit of misting, just to wet the surface of the soil. And then I'll come in with the watering can and give it a proper watering. My next course of action is to spray the tree. It had those spider mites on it, so I'm going to get soap and water. So I'm going to mix 40 parts water to 1 part soap, and I'll spray it all over the canopy of the tree, and that should take care of my spider mite problem. I've got an old spray bottle here. It's almost worn out, so I'm going to use that for my soap. So I'm using Sunlight, just regular dish soap. I don't know if it's detergent or soap or what. So I'll just kind of guess. I just put a squirt like that in the bottom of the container, and I'll add the water to it. So here I go with the water. I shouldn't be doing this, but I am. Okay, whoa. I'll leave a little room to shake it up. So we'll put the sprayer on. Give it a good shake. Nice and foamy. And then I can spray it on the tree. So I'll set it for a fairly fine mist. There we go. I want to be sure that I spray all around the tree. I'm going to put that even finer. Up underneath all the branches, on the trunk. And that should do it. That should kill all the insects, like any aphids, scale, mealybugs, spider mites, everything. That should do the job. After giving the tree a spray with soap and water, I'll give the roots a rinse just to make sure there's no soap residue in the soil. So just give it a nice thorough watering to wash out the soapy water. My last remaining task is to make sure all these roots are in the soil. So I'll get some rocks. I'll get them going in the soil here. I got a few more out front here that probably need a bit of burying. I'll just make sure there's some soil on top of them and they'll grow fine. Okay, that's looking good. So I'll re-water this all. I'll give the tree a final rinse, washing all the soap off. making a mess, but rinsing it all down. And that should be pretty good right there. All right, I'll rotate the tree around so you can see it from 360 degrees now. So here I go. The repotting's all done now. The tree's watered, it's all settled in there, and it's ready to grow new roots and new leaves. I think all the work I did on this tree on the weekend will really improve the quality of the tree in the future. So I'm really happy with the repotting. I really like the root structure, and I think today's repotting is just going to make that even better. Defoliation, root pruning, and repotting is quite a stressful event for the tree. But here in the plant room it gets nice light. It's a nice warm, humid atmosphere. So the recovery should be quite good. If it were to go outside, I'd be more worried about it with drying winds, full sun, that kind of thing. So in the plant room, recovery for this tree should be no problem. So that's my Ficus microcarpa, grown from a seed 26 years ago, repotted once again. I'm really happy with the development of this tree. I think it'll be an exciting tree to follow into the future. And I think it'll look very miniature. I think this root base is just going to keep getting better as I continue to work on it. And the crown too. I think it'll be quite a nice tree in years to come. I've run out of time and I won't be able to show viewers pics today, but hopefully in the next video. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for watching in the Bonsai Zone.